CPO here, and I'm getting ready to put another part on my 450 Pro V2. This is another upgrade part that I'm excited about. I wanted to show it to you. This is the Taro metal tail transmission block, and basically what it does is it replaces the stock tail transmission gear assembly, this guy here, with an all aluminum part that does a bunch of things that are exciting, right? So first of all, it's cooler, right? Because it's metal, which makes it awesome. But there are two key points that I really want to point out to you, besides the fact that it does what it's supposed to, and that is actually run the torque tube for the tail, just like the standard block does. It has two features that are going to be important to you. This has a much stronger grip on the tail boom. So one of the big challenges people have had is boom pop-off from these plastic transmission sets, which is why a lot of people recommend to pin the boom, which you can see here. I have a screw hole and did an entire video on pinning the boom to prevent that. It's my understanding, and I'm going to take that and test it and see if I have any challenges with it. But it's my understanding that this metal transmission block prevents that because it gets a much firmer hold on the tail boom. It's basically a metal-to-metal kind of a vise locking sort of a structure that holds it well. So I'm excited about that. As you can see down inside there's a pin which basically your tail boom will align with. So remember, on your tail boom, you've got this little cutout here. So on the standard transmission, you've got this little notch here that this notch will align with, and basically will line up your tail boom. And you've got a little bit of variance to go in and out in that assembly. Same thing here with the metal transmission block, except instead of a whole like notch cutout thing, it's just got a little metal pin, and basically what you do is just align that with the pin, snap it in, and then it locks in place. Still, you have room to go in and out to get your tail boom the dimension you want it. So if your tail control rod, for example, seems a little bit long to get the geometry you want for the tail and your tail servo, and you can't make it any shorter, you can actually, adjust how far out your tail boom goes and give a little bit more length to that. I mean, you basically have this much room for adjustments. So that's important to note if you haven't experienced that before. A lot of people like to slam these things in all the way tight, and then their tail control rods seem too short. And I experienced this myself. What I found is I've got a little bit more room to play there. I can extend that boom out just a bit and give me some more length. Anyway, so that's how that works. Screw hard wheel will go through there and tighten that down. Now the other thing is probably the coolest part is the fact that with this type of assembly, you've got top access to replace your gear sets. So in this case, you can see there is a screw that you can remove from the top. So you remove the anti-rotation platform, and this assembly will come out, and you have access through the top of the helicopter to change out these gears and bearings. That's something you cannot do with the standard transmission block. You have to pull off the side of the helicopter or remove the entire transmission block, take it out of the helicopter, make those changes, put it back. So either way, you're down to basically removing just a couple of screws, and you can effectively make whatever gear changes you need to make, or bearing changes. Remember to thread lock these. You can also remove the bottom should that be of value to you as well. But I think what most people are going to find benefit is being able to get access to this with the top. That means you can run wiring on both sides of this, and we all know the 450 frame is pretty tight when it comes to wiring access. You can run wiring on both sides of this and still be able to access the gears without having to undo that wiring. So this does have the two tabs that will fit into the frame. Matter of fact, I'll mock this up for you right now. So here's my frame assembly, and basically, just like with the stock tail box, these tabs are going to slip into there, into the frame, just like that. And that's actually what it looks like installed. I don't have the screws in there, of course. The other cool thing is now you can slip some wires down around that, right? So if I decide maybe that's where I want to run my my servo wires, you can slip them down in there. I'm going to run another one in here just to show you. And of course this isn't where I would actually put my servo wire, but you can see here, you can run those things through there. You can either run them back up around this way, stuff them down in there, whatever you want to do. And these two little pegs here are going to hold everything out of the way of the gears. So that's kind of cool feature. As you can see on the standard transmission gear, you kind of had a similar thing. You had the pegs, but there was no way to run any wires back here. The entire thing, basically, you could run it in the front, but once it got to the back, you know, you were butted up against the frame entirely. So this is kind of opens up a whole lot of opportunities for different wiring schemas. So very cool. So it does come with pretty solid hardware. This is the screw that will actually run through the backside and basically lock that tail boom into place. And then you've got good hardware for the rest of the frame assembly. As a matter of fact, this looks like the same type of screw hardware I just got with my upgraded screw kit. It's a 2mm screw head of the socket style screw. So I'm really liking the hardware that came with this. At any rate, that's that. So let's see how it weighs in with the stock transmission. So this is a stock gear. And I've even got the gears in there, so it'll be basically a 1-for-1. Both assemblies will have the gears in there. So that's 24 grams for the stock plastic, including the gears. 25 grams for the aluminum with removable top or bottom access, depending on your needs, with all gears. So we're talking 1 gram added to your HELI. So for you calorie counters, I don't think that's a big deal, and I would definitely welcome the extra gram for the convenience of this guy. Alright, wanted to give you a quick look at this thing as it's installed into the frame, and also make sure you're aware of how the installation goes. So you have these smaller socket screws that you'll use for these 2 points in the front on both sides. And then on the right side of the helicopter, you'll use them on the back screw holes. But on the left side of the helicopter, this is where you'll use these long screws, and this is what's going to lock in the tail boom. So basically, you're going to use the short screws here, and then the long screws will run across into this next block to clamp this down onto the boom. But this is what it looks like with the anti-rotation bar on. You can see visibility completely through the frame there of your transmission set. Again, wiring, lots of room here. For those of you that do top-mounted electronics, you've got plenty of room to run wiring up, in, around, you know, up through here, what have you. So very convenient for that. As well as, I wanted to show you really quick at the access. Once you remove this anti-rotation bar, or bracket, basically in here, again, you know, I've got wiring run through here. You're going to remove 3 screws to take this thing apart. I'm not going to unscrew them now because I just thread locked them. But basically, you've got to remove this screw, and then these 2 top front screws, you know, holding this front bracket on, and this T-shaped piece will come out. So because of that, you need to keep that in mind when you do run your wiring, that you're going to have to get this T-shaped piece out. So it's going to slip out underneath the wires and then come up. No big deal, but just know that you know, as you lay things on top of that, that's going to have to get moved or shoved out of the way. So if you're pulling things super tight, you may want to leave yourself just a little bit of slack to be able to maneuver that, to get that out. But it's still better than taking the frame sides off by far. So anyway, that's with it installed. And like I said, here pretty soon, I'll add in my my tail boom, and it's going to be really cool. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.